Hey guys, Mike here, and we're back today with another build of the day. We're coming at live from Studio One, and today we're going to be taking a look at a really fun build, really highlighting the EasyRig Vario 5 that I have to my left here. Like we were talking about yesterday, if you guys have questions as we're going along, please just comment below. We'll have a section at the end of the video where we'll be answering any of those questions that you guys have. And then also comment with anything that you guys want to see. I want to highlight the builds that you guys are interested in. So if there's a particular piece of gear that you want to see or want to have highlighted, let me know down below and we'll cover it in a future video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a really awesome camera, which is the Red Gemini here. The Red Gemini is a 5K, shoots in 5K resolution. Has a 5K sensor in the front and is capable of shooting up to 100 frames per second in that 5K resolution, up to a 8:1 compression ratio. For those of you who haven't shot with Red before, the Red cameras work in a very unique way, where the camera essentially has a individual data pipeline that you can put information down. And it's up to you as the operator to decide where that information within that pipeline is coming from. And you essentially have three main areas to pull that information from. You can pull information from your resolution, your frame rate, or your compression ratio. You kind of have a triangle that lives in. And you won't be able to go to your max in all three categories because the pipeline is only going to be able to handle so much data at a time. And it's up to you to choose where that data is coming from. So we could choose to have a bunch of data come from our sensor resolution and shoot in a full 5K, but as a result, we'll only be able to go up to 100 frames per second with an 8:1 compression. If we go with a lower frame rate, we could have a lower compression ratio, or vice versa. We could lower our resolution and have a higher frame rate cap, or have a lower resolution, and vice versa. And it's really up to you to decide where that information is coming from. Anywhere between a 5:1 and an 8:1 compression is considered visually lossless. I have found that you can go up to about a 12:1 ratio and it still stays clean, but I usually don't like to go higher than that, as you do start seeing noise and excess artifacting and things like that. The Red Gemini is unique along the Red DSMC2 line because it features a dual native ISO, so we can actually switch our camera from a standard mode to a low light mode. In standard mode, you'll have 16.5 stops of dynamic range, and in your low light mode, you're going to sacrifice 1 stop of dynamic range for an exchange of a much lower noise within your shadows, and you can go clean up to about 3200 ISO within that low light mode. So a phenomenal camera that's very lightweight. Main brain is only about 3.5 pounds. So even once we kit this guy out, it's still going to be nice and lightweight to fit on our EasyRig here. To pair with this, we're going to be using the Canon C&E 35mm prime lens. This is an awesome lens that I love for anything that's going to require skin tones, because the Canon C&Es render very, very warm skin tones, very pleasing to look at. I use them a lot for documentary projects, interviews, things like that. And it's just going to pair really well with our Red Gemini here. The 35mm focal range has come to be one of my favorites anytime I'm going to have to choose a single prime lens to live on, because anything tighter, and I start having to step too far back to still get a wide field of view. And anything wider than that, I can't really move close and get a tight field of view. The 35 finds a really nice balance in that mid-range where I can back up a couple steps and get a wide, or I can move in close and still get some really nice close-ups. You'll notice our close focus on this guy is right at 12 inches, so we can get just a foot away from that and still be in focus, so you can still use it for detail shots, close-ups, things like that. Really nice, really versatile focal length. Then we do have a red side handle here, which is extremely useful, and we're going to be using this as our right hand grip because we're going to be doing a handheld setup with this with our EasyRig. And so this will allow us to still maintain record, start, stop, and some menu control from the back here. And I really like this hand grip because it's got this kind of pistol grip design here that's very ergonomic. It feels really good in the hand and gives you a really nice solid hand grip there. And it has this little thumb rest that your thumb can go on when you're not using buttons, which just gives you another place to really get a good firm grip on that hand grip there. Then we're going to mount all of that to our EasyRig Vario 5 here. If you guys haven't worked with an EasyRig before, they are phenomenal for long shoots or live TV or anything that you have to put a really big, beefy package up on your shoulder or handheld for longer than 3 to 5 minutes. And it's basically a backpack that the operator is going to put on. And within this housing here is like a pulley system. And that pulley system runs up the arm to your, we'll switch this way, to your clip right here. This particular unit also features what's called the serene arm, which is this attachment bit right up top. And together, they're going to stabilize my camera as I'm moving handheld. The EasyRig itself is going to pull tension on this hook right here to keep our camera level wherever I need it to be. And I can dial that tension in on the side here, and we'll walk through that at the end once we get everything built up, to establish the proper tension. Then the serene arm up here has a spring on it, very much like a Steadicam arm. That's going to work to help to work out some of the bumps and bruises as a like walking shot or something like that, where you typically get some bounce in your camera. It's going to help work some of that out. But we're also going to need to dial in the proper strength of our spring up here as well. But with all of this combined, we're going to be able to have that handheld rig, and I can spend all of my focus on making the shot that I want, as opposed to worry about my arms getting tired, holding the package, and things like that. It's going to be very seamless, makes it really easy to work with. And last little bits of gear that we have, I will talk about this right here. This is a piece of our ARRI hand grip kit. I'll go ahead and attach these guys real quick. This typically would be used with a shoulder rig of some kind so that you could have 2 hand grips out front for holding camera. And it mounts to 15mm rods and would have a second hand grip on one side so I could go up on my shoulder like this. If you guys go to our website, look at any shoulder rigs we see there, you'll see what I'm talking about on this. I'm actually going to use it in a much different way today, though, because when we originally got the Red Raven, back when the DSMC2 line was first announced, we needed a simple handheld solution for it, and this was before we had that red side grip. And we came up with this as the best solution, where we're actually going to run our hand grip backwards towards our camera and run it vertical like this to give us a side grip on the side of our camera as it's back here. That way we'll have 2 hand grips so that we can support our camera really well and make sure it's nice and stable as we're operating. Without further ado, why don't we go ahead and start building up the camera. So we'll go ahead and move over to the cart over here. And to start with our we talk about how to set all of that as well. So I encourage you guys to go check out that video if you're looking to get started shooting red. As today, we won't talk too much about the internals of the red and more about the overall build and setting up the EasyRig that we're going to be doing. Once we've got our side plate off here, you'll notice there's a small plug-in right there. We can remove this safety cover from our side grip, and you'll notice that same plug right there. So we're just going to gently guide it down so that those connect in. To tighten down our side handle. Shoot in 120, but it'll record a project in 24 frames per second, for instance, and you'll get that nice 5x slow-mo right in camera without having to do post-processing on it, which can really speed up the post-process, especially if you're just trying to do some simple high-speed stuff for marketing or something like that. You don't want to have to worry about a very lengthy post-processing. Great. Now that our side handle is all attached, we'll go ahead and put our red universal quick release system on. So I'm going to flip over to our bottom. This is our red universal quick release here. It is a really handy rail mount solution for the reds. You'll get rails out the front for mounting camera accessories, lens support, anything like that. And it is a really nice quick release. It uses a Dovetail mounting solution, which I've found is great for any time you need to do quick adjustments from tripod to any other setup, because you can take a Dovetail like this one here and mount a shoulder pad to one, tripod plate to another. Perhaps you're going up on a jib that's using a different tripod. You can have a different one set up there as well, so that you can really quickly and seamlessly move throughout your production without having to take 5 minutes to take a plate off, reattach it, things like that. Once you get built, you're all set and good to go. And great, there we go. Now our red universal is attached there. We can go ahead and pop it back on. You'll notice it shows you where your lens front should be, and we're just going to drop it in on the side here, and you'll hear it snap into place. Then we will need to go ahead and attach our tripod quick release plate to our Dovetail so that we're able to mount that on the V20 behind me. And I'm just going to find a decent placement here. You can be a little bit more freeform about the placement of your plate on this because the Dovetail will slide, so you can adjust your exact camera position after you actually get it mounted onto the tripod. Great. And then from here we have some small rails. We're going to be running our hand grip off of these, as well as a follow focus so that we can adjust focus as we are operating. So I'll go ahead and mount those guys there. I like to mount my lens at this point because I want to look at where my focus gear is going to sit onto my rails, so I can decide whether my hand grip is going in front or behind my follow focus. That way we don't have any issues mounting stuff. We don't have to take something off just to mount something else, and vice versa. So I'm just going to pop our lens on here and lock our locking EF mount like so. So we can see now that our focus ring sits farther forward on our rails. So I'm going to mount our hand grip behind that, and our follow focus will go in front. The follow focus we're using today, by the way, is the ARRI MFF2 follow focus. This is our kind of standard cinema follow focus, as it's very adjustable and customizable. You can remove this screw and move the gear to the other side if you need. You can move this thumb knob to the other side and really adjust it however you need to fit your specific build. So it's going to work really nicely for us. Then I'm going to go ahead and mount my hand grip, since that's going on first. Take our cap off there. And I'm just going to go ahead and drop this guy on. All right. Not sure why he's being a little too tight there, but you'll notice that this is a ratchet knob here, so occasionally if it's not loosening enough for you, you'll look inside the channel and you can just lift it, pull it out, and adjust its exact positioning so that you get it loose enough to fit on your rails there. This is why we test build stuff, so that you guys don't get to set and end up needing to do this exact adjustment. So we're just going to keep checking here, making sure everything fits. All right, I'm going to go ahead and scrap our side handle for now. I think these rails might be slightly too big for the ARRI accessories. They can be a little picky on the rails, and we had swapped these right before filming for some shorter ones, and so that might be what's causing us some trouble. Oh, actually, I think I left the other rails. If you want to hand those to me from off camera, we should actually be able to fix our build that way. And we'll just scrap our 4 inches and replace them with the longer 6-inch that we had and go with that instead. It should be on the table there. Thank you, sir. So we'll replace them with our 6 inches here. It'll stick out a little bit, but our field of view is going to be tight enough that we won't see our rails in front, so it still will be fine. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing we were doing before, which is just drop our bridge plate here right down. And I'm going to mount it as far back as I can to leave the focus ring up here wide open for our follow focus to mount on. The follow focus is very easy to adjust, so I'll actually do that on our tripod. While we're here, we'll go ahead and attach our top monitor. You'll notice that the Reds use a cableless attachment here, and so I'm just going to set him there and then use the corresponding star key to tighten him down. Great. And then lastly, our top handle. The top handle is a critical part of our build since we're using an EasyRig, as this is going to be the point where the EasyRig is actually attaching to camera. So if you're trying to use a camera with the EasyRig that doesn't have a top handle, we usually can come up with a solution. It just requires a couple other bits and pieces to accomplish. So let us know what camera you're trying to use. We can definitely still rig that out for you. Lastly, we have our red mini mag that will pop in and our red brick on the back. And with that, I think we're ready to go ahead and go to tripod, and we can attach the rest of our accessories from there. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and just attach our dovetail right away, and then we'll slide our camera onto our dovetail. Great. Then we'll go ahead and attach our follow focus. And I really like the MFF2, and this is going to really show how great it is, because I can adjust the angle that my follow focus wheel is going to sit at. And it seems like a small adjustment that could, make a small amount of difference. But when you're shooting, having your follow focus in this position versus that position versus that position, depending on what you're shooting, can make a huge difference for pulling critical focus. And so I really like how adjustable this follow focus is to really allow you to set your own desired angle. I, for handheld stuff, tend to do a slight angle down like that. And I'll show you guys after I get the other hand grip attached why I do that. But now we've got everything tied up, so we've got full control of that focus ring there. Finally, we'll take our RE hand grip here and attach him like so. Great, and that concludes the actual build of the camera side of it. And what I was talking about with the angle here, and you'll see once we get the EZRig up and running, but while I'm shooting, I like to use this hand grip here kind of as a wrist guard or a wrist brace so that I can still pull my focus, but I'm maintaining a bit of camera support with it. And it's not just me holding it all with the right hand grip. Helps keep the weight a little bit more even across and a steadier shot. But very much like a shoulder rig, exact positioning of these is going to be dependent on each person and exactly how you like to shoot. From here, we're going to have to set up our EZRig. And for that, we'll go ahead and pull this guy back over. Now, the EZRig is going to go on like a backpack. Every body type's going to fit it a little bit different. So you guys will need to, make some adjustments to begin with. I'm a tall, skinny guy, so I'm going to have to tighten this thing up as tight as it'll go. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this on my back. And the goal of putting the EZRig on is to mount it as tight to your body as possible without it being uncomfortable, because any movement that you get in the EZRig is going to result in movement in the camera itself. So I'm going to take my waist here and cinch it in as tight as I can go and connect the buckle here. I then cinch it in to tighten it up to make sure that it's as tight as it can go. And you do want to make sure you're going around your waist, not just where your pants sit, because it's going to help support but also maintain movement at your hip so that you can still create the shots that you need. From there, there's a chest buckle that'll go across your chest like so, and we'll tighten that guy up. You'll also see that there are buckles on my side to tighten all of these. Like this one's a little bit loose, so we'll go ahead and tighten him up. And then this arm right here is adjustable as well. So if you have a longer torso, for instance, we can loosen that and it'll lengthen up to extend where that's sitting. We'll do the same thing on the other side. We'll tighten up our straps, make sure everything's sitting nice and snug. And now we need to essentially test fit. In an ideal world, you're going to have an AC with you, and that AC is going to be able to help you test fit the tension, because the EZRig is variable, right? We're going to be able to dial that in. It'll support camera packages anywhere from 11 to 38 pounds. Today we're sitting probably about 12 to 13 pounds. We're on the lighter end of it, but we'll need to dial that tension in. I'll show you guys what that looks like. So to attach camera, let me move this guy so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see. The hook right here has a spring and a small platform underneath it, and that spring's going to push down to make sure that it stays, and the plastic on the hook is going to keep it from slipping. What I see people forgetting to do, though, is that this thumb knob here can lock by twisting. So we're going to loosen it first. That's going to allow it to go up and down, like you can see, but then we can tighten it down and actually lock it in place so it stops moving. So what we'll do is lift up on it so that it's all the way up, and we'll hook underneath our top handle. Let me try and turn so you guys can see a little bit better. And then we want that top plate to sit as far down flush to our top handle as possible, and we're just going to turn this guy to tighten him on there. This is going to lock him in place. It's not coming off that top handle at all, and it'll nicely support our camera. From here, we're just going to go ahead and I'll leave my dovetail on and just take camera off. And we just need to check our tension, right? So in an ideal world, if our tension was perfect, I could let go of my camera and it would stay in place. But you'll notice as I let go, it's dropping a little bit. We don't want that, because then if I'm shooting, I'm still having to support the camera, and it's going to still work my arms a little bit. I'm looking for no tension. We don't want it to pull up on the camera rig, because that would be too much tension. We don't want it to fall down either. So let me throw this back up on our tripod, and I'll show you guys how to adjust that tension up. All right. So you'll notice on the side here that there's a small Allen key that's stored, and then you have a plus icon with an arrow signifying which direction to turn in to raise your tension. It's important to note the warning on the side. You don't want to operate the EZRig while your T handle is inside, because it can damage the unit. So make sure if you are having an AC or someone helping you with this while you have it on, that you're taking all the tension off of the string first, then having them adjust it, then testing it and repeating from there. For this, I'm just going to increase our tension slightly. I'm going to do about 4 turns on there to increase a little bit. You can kind of test the weight by just pulling down, seeing how the tension is. It feels about right to me. The other thing that we can adjust is our serene arm up top here, and we can dial in the tension of our spring to control the bounce that it does here. I dialed this in a little bit beforehand, before we started filming, so it's all right. I think it still could use a little bit of fine tuning, but it'll work well for our purposes today. Now we can go ahead and throw this back on. And we're just going to repeat the same thing, mounting it up. Every time I take it off and put it back on, I do the same strap check on everything, just to make sure that it's sitting as tight as it can on my body, because I don't want to have any loose movement or anything, especially not in the middle of a critical take. Great. We can go ahead and mount camera again, just the same like we had before. Great, and we can go ahead and check and see where we're at. Yeah, with that I can let go. I can take my camera lower, it'll stay lower. I can take it higher, and it'll stay higher. And from here, we really have a lot of freedom to make the shots that we want. We can still tilt as we need to, and I would like, for this particular rig, I can go ahead and power camera on. I'll hold something along the lines like this. So I'm using that hand grip to brace my forearm on to help keep everything steady, while my right hand guides my shot, what I'm making, and then I can still keep track of my focus. If I find a focus that works real nice, say we're going to park at 10 feet, I can then switch back to my other hand grip and just focus on making my shots. You can see that this is still very modular. I could build this out more if I needed to. If I wanted to put a shoulder pad on the bottom, I could, and put it up on my shoulder here. If I wanted a matte box, I could put that in front. I know the top monitor here is only so easy to see. I opted to not have an external monitor because I wanted to keep the package smaller and lighter weight, but you could very easily add like a small HD 702 or 502 monitor to offset that viewing, so you could more easily pull focus from that, or vice versa, and really kind of choose how you want that rig to go out. But you will notice my serene arm up there, as I'm walking, it's bouncing slightly to help maintain a level shot, and I can get much smoother handheld shots this way than I would if I just was holding this by myself without the EasyRig. And then with this, I could operate all day, and I'm really only limited by my media and my battery life because my arms aren't going to get tired or anything, and I can be shooting without any worries. The other way I've seen people do with this is where they do like almost a rifle grip, where they take their battery and tuck it into the pocket of their shoulder and shoot something a little more like this. It works just as well. Not my personal preference. It all depends on what you're looking to do. But I find this rig would be great for any cinema style live event, anything where you need to be mobile. We've done a very similar setup for a live music performance that we were recording, and it worked really, really well. Yeah, I think at this point, is there any questions that anyone had? Comment below. All right, well, if you guys do have questions that come up, comment below. We can answer them down the line or in future videos. I do want to take a moment to talk about, we'll hold on to the camera while we close out. Talk about PerfectCircle.pro. If you guys are looking to do any streaming or anything like that, not only do we rent gear, but we have a partner who will also hook you up with an operator who will run the stream for you. That way you don't have to worry about the headache of setting everything up. We'll come with the gear, camera, and everything needed and help set that stream up for you. If you guys have questions about the gear or want to check these out, give us a call or visit magrents.com. Otherwise, I'll plan to see you guys tomorrow.